Hey, we should be live. Back, working on the Sixth Doctor and Ian Chesterton. Real quick, before we get into the actual card selection, so I went over to Cranial Insertion to shoot them an email about the interactions between the Sixth Doctor and cards like Sakashima the Imposter to see, because the Doctor says, except the copy isn't legendary. Sakashima says, except it is legendary, has the name Sakashima the Imposter, and gains the ability 4 mana return to your hand at end of turn. So I want to know how the layers work because I'm terrible with layers. If the Sixth Doctor is in play and I cast Sakashima and copy it, and have both copies come into play as the Sixth Doctor except their name Sakashima, are they legendary at that point? Are they both legendary? Like, obviously, the original Sakashima is going to be legendary because the Sixth Doctor doesn't do anything to Sakashima original, but I want to know if the token is legendary. Like, the Doctor is trying to take away the legendary status of the token, and the token is game text is trying to give it the legendary status back. So I don't know how that works. And once I have the answer to that, I should have the answer to Marit, but Marit's less important because Marit itself is always legendary. So it can't copy one of my other legendary cards because it doesn't keep its name the way Sakashima does. Marit just becomes a copy of the other thing, except that it is a legendary snow permanent. And if it's a creature, it gets 2 counters. So, and has changeling. So I really need to know how that works, but since I was on their website anyway, and I haven't checked their stuff recently, I did read both of their articles on Doctor Who. They did 2 weeks of rules questions, primarily focused on the Doctor Who set, and I found out that I was very wrong about how certain cards interact with adventures in the graveyard. So, Past Returned, which is the 6 mana enchantment that lets you cast all of your instants and sorceries on your turn from your graveyard as though they had flashback equal to their mana cost. And similarly worded cards, therefore Past in Flames and such, do work with adventure cards because they don't target and they give you permission to cast instants and sorceries from your graveyard. And I did not think that worked because I did not think, since they didn't count as instants and sorceries in the graveyard, they count as their main card type instead. I didn't think you would gain permission to cast them because of that, but since you have permission to cast instants and sorceries from your graveyard, when you attempt to cast it, the rules check to see if it is actually one of the cards you're allowed to cast, and since the adventure side is, that works. And I did not think it worked that way. So I need to do an update video on Balloona Grand Squall some point in the near future where we take a look at those cards and see if any of them, some of them definitely should be in her deck. I was really, really sad when we had to cut Jaya. I think it's just Jaya Ballard, the Planeswalker version of her, because her original card was Jaya Ballard Task Mage, and then Jaya Negotiator, and the War of the Spark one, whatever her subtitle was there. But I believe it's just Jaya Ballard. I was really sad we had to cut her because her wording lined up with what I thought the wording had to be in order to be able to cast them from the graveyard. So I spent a lot of time telling you that you couldn't use these cards when in reality you could, and it's one of those weird rules technicalities where it says you can't, but when you try, you actually can. There's a rule that kind of threw me the first time I saw it. I've talked about it before. So there's a card from original Ixalan, since we're going back there. It's called Ixalan's Binding. It represents the inability for planeswalkers to leave Ixalan because of the Immortal Sun's presence. So Ixalan's Binding is an Oblivion Ring. So you cast it, you exile the permanent, and then it has the additional effect that I think it's opponents, it might be players, but I believe it's opponents can't cast cards with the same name as a card exiled with Ixalan's Binding. And there was the original Dominaria set had come out around the same time. I think a little bit before, a little bit after. I forget which order exactly the two of them came out in. But Squee the Immortal was a 3 mana 2/1, and you had the ability to cast Squee from your graveyard or from exile to represent the fact that you just cannot kill him. So the ruling that threw me was that if you exile Squee with Ixalan's Binding, the opponent can still cast Squee from exile, out from underneath the binding. And that's why this is like, it literally says you can't cast cards with the same name. How can you do this? And the reason for that is, by the time Ixalan's Binding is able to check to see if casting Squee is a legal play or not, Squee is leaving exile and moving to the stack. And since he's not in exile from Ixalan's Binding anymore, he is valid, and Ixalan's Binding just shrugs and goes, yeah, you got it. And Squee comes into play. So the only way for that to ever happen is you need two separate Ixalan's Bindings on two separate copies of Squee. Like, they need to mess up and cast the one from their hand instead of the one from the exile first, and then you have to binding that one, and then, because when you cast the one, the other one will still be in exile, and it'll be like, no, wait, you can't do that. And you can't start casting the second one, even if it had flash for whatever reason, until you finish casting the first one, and the game won't let you. So, that rule always threw me, until I found out it is the same rule that allows you to... so this is another completely different card. So Void Winnower from Battle for Zendikar block. I think it's from Oath of the Gatewatch. I forget which one of the two specifically it's from. It's the You Can't Even Eldrazi. So it won't let opponents cast spells with even mana cost. So the way that it works with things like X spells is, as long as the mana cost that you choose as for like the value for X plus whatever other mana is required to cast it results in an odd number, you can cast the spell. So that makes sense. Like, if I had Rolling Thunder in my hand, which is 2 red and X, deal X damage, like, I should be able to choose an odd number for X and be able to cast the spell. That makes perfect sense to me. The rule that lets you cast Squee out from underneath Ixalan's Binding is the same one that doesn't let Void Winnower stop me from casting Rolling Thunder, because its base mana cost is even, because 2 red and X before it's on the stack is 2 mana, and therefore an even number. It's the same rule. It doesn't check legality for casting the spell until you've started to cast the spell. In order for Ixalan's Binding to stop Squee from being castable once it hits the first one, Void Winnower has to be able to stop you from casting Rolling Thunder regardless of what number you were going to pick for X. So while the first one makes no sense to me, the second one makes all the sense in the world to me, and they're the same rule, just applied differently. So the same rule came in, I'm pretty sure it's the same rule that's coming into effect here, is that you have permission to cast instants and sorceries from your graveyard from the card effect. So you get to actually cast your adventures because of that, because by the time it checks to see if you're allowed to, it comes back with a yes, because you're trying to cast an instant or sorcery. I might reiterate all of this again during the Baluna Grand Squall thing when I go back to her, but that is why I missed that rule and why it's so confusing. And how I could miss it even though I know this rule. Is because half of it makes sense and half of it doesn't, but it's all one rule, so sometimes it still throws me when I encounter it in a different form. Because of that specific, like, it does not make sense half of the time, but the other half of the time it makes so much sense that and since it's the same rule, it has to work that way every single time. So half the time it's like, yes, of course I can cast it, why wouldn't I be able to? And the other half of the time is, what do you mean I can cast this? That doesn't make any sense. Same rule. Okay. Now we've got that done and out of the way, and I should have an answer at some point in time for the Marit / Sakashima the Imposter and how they interact with the Sixth Doctor. Alright, we stopped at... I was going to say, we didn't stop at Modern Horizons 2. Um, ooh, we went past Plane Chase 2. Let's go to Advanced Search. Where were we then? Because I forgot to update that part. We did all the Portal sets. We did all the Ravnica sets. Rise of the Eldrazi. I vaguely remember. Let me just pop into Scars of Mirrodin. I believe we did Scars of Mirrodin, but I don't think we did Scourge. I think Scourge is the set we're on. Let me just open up Scars of Mirrodin, see a handful of cards from it, and go, yeah, I definitely remember looking at all these. Yeah, okay. I definitely remember looking at all of these for the deck. So let's go to Scourge then. Oops. Pop in there. And then we're going to be on the Secret Lair drop, so we'll have to hop over to Scryfall after that. We can get all the unique cards from Secret Lair. Oh, don't you sass me. I'll just go to Scryfall entirely. You're going to be like that. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Alright, so you're looking for cards for the Doctor and Ian. Who's Runecaster new? Freeze, break, sunder. I was about to say break open, but that's a red card from a different set. Actually, no, it's a red card from. It's not from a different set. It's either from. It's definitely from this block. I forget if it's actually from this set or not. Brain freeze, break asunder, claws of the wildwood, wirewood. I said wildwood, and then I tried to correct myself. War Chief, Dawn Elemental, Day of Dragons. I don't think we need any of the decrees. Reach. No. Urgent growth. Don't need any of the dragon body parts. Aberration. Eternal dragon. No. Empath. I don't think we need Fierce Empath. We have a few, like 6+ mana creatures, but not a ton of them. Don't need Force Bubble, Forgotten Ancient, Frozen Solid, Corona Zealot. I think this deck needs long-term plans. We do want to be able to find the 3 blind mice very easily, but we have so many other things that search our deck specifically for enchantments that can find it that I don't think we need long-term plans as another way to get to it. I don't need Parallel Thoughts. Danger, Vine, Stifle. Probably want to consider Temple to the False Gods. Temple 2, Temple of the False Gods. Alright. False God, sorry. Temple to the False Gods is the one from not Rise of the Eldrazi, I think Battle for Zendikar. Fisher no. Trap Digger, Wing Shards, Anthid Swarm. Okay. And yeah, we're gonna need Scryfall. So we're white, blue, and green. And our set is Secret Lair. Alright. As this list just keeps getting huger and huger with so many cards on it that I don't need to care about, but I need the mental strength to process the ones I do. So, yeah, Applejack is not legal for normal commander. It is still silver bordered. These are all reprints or reskins. If Ardent Angel is in your graveyard, roll a 4-side die. If the result is 1, return it to the battlefield. Nope. Nami, Azusa, Balance, Honda. Each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness. Attacks up to 100 target creatures get +0/+X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Reskins, Airscape, Paradise, Megatron. Breeding Pool, Bribery, Zella, Tyrant, Cleansing Nova, the Cybertron, Bell, Raider Hoof, Alright, choose a reskin. First strike vigilance life. Oh yeah, choose Danitha. The Dark Steel. Doric. Search my library for a forest, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Attacks, you may pay green 1 to transform her. Other legendary creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. So the token copy would buff up the non-token copy, since that one would still be legendary. Probably still not good enough. I mean, it is nice that she's a 4-mana, get a land into play. Alright, Sun Champion. Ina. Fiction. Thip. Can't run her. Fracturing Gust. Blessing. Eric. The Ghost Quarter. Let's see. Whenever Glenn deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equal to his power. Rick requires humans, which we're not focused on. The add 2 colorless, spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate the abilities of artifacts. Think so. Like, we are going to be running a bunch of artifacts, but I don't need a 4-drop that helps me ramp into artifacts. These. President Moon. Breath. Petra. Kira. I do not remember that artwork for Kira at all. What if that was one of the bonus cards for something? Thumb, Kolga, Reskin, Maniac, Bala, Warhammer, Wild Hunt. Don't remember that one either. Like, I don't remember most of them, but like when I see them, it's like, no, I'm vaguely aware that this was in a secret lair. But some of them I look at, I'm like, no, I don't even kind of remember that being in anything. Drifter, Bill Tutor, Nature's Lore, Zahal. 2 tap, choose target creature card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Return it to the battlefield tapped. Uh, Phyrexian Unlife, Pier, Pithing Needle, Platinum Angel, Eldegriff, Lecter Mage, Heuristic Study, Savior. Nope. Okay. Paris. Simon, Wild Magic Sorcerer. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell with mana value 3 or greater, roll a d20. Player draws a card, I draw a card, copy that spell, I may choose new targets. Yeah, I don't think so. Boar Frog. Stick. Belzeme. Has hexproof unless he's attacking. Whatever creature you control with reach attacks, untap it. It can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Meh. Okay. It's Oracle. Thought Not Seer. Tireless Tracker. Gal. Mug. Fencer. Convention, World Spine Worm. Zank cares about my auras. Nope, okay. That seems to be everybody. Back to that. So, Secret Lair. So, Shadowmoor. Okay. If you control more creatures than each other player, put 2 of those cards in your hand. Otherwise, excuse me, put 1 of them in your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. I don't think so. Aetherflow. That card in your hand gain life equal to its mana value. Barrington Medic, Biting Feather. Berry. Aldrin. -1/-1 counter from target creature. Counterbore, Cursive Chain. Loaded Druid. Evening. There we go. Make absolutely sure our opponents don't want to blow up all enchantments unless they really, really mean it. But no. Yeah, we're not going to bother with that. I don't actually gain any additional benefit from my non-enchantments being enchantments when they're in play. With, like, one minor exception being, like, the Eidolon of Blossoms. Touch all auras, enchanting target permanent to another permanent with the same control. Yeah, I don't want Greater Auramancy either because I need to be able to target my own stuff, so that one's kind of out. Don't need the Spawn, Kitchen Finks, Ifkin Rabble, Axel Click. Mana Reflection, which is a little bit on the tempting side, like Personal Mana Flare for all of my mana producing permanents. Certainly helps. Getting 6 mana from my Gilded Lotus and all of that, but I don't think we're going to bother with it. Like, our other things that would ramp our mana are also doing other stuff that's helpful or are cheaper. So, if we actually need Mana Reflection, like if I get to the point where it's like, no, I think I would rather just have Mana Reflection with how the deck is shaping up, then we'll cut like Zendikar Resurgent and come grab it or something. In the meantime, I don't think we need it. Don't need control. Filter lands. Targets a creature. So no. Sorry, Order of White Clay. Get me like a non-land permanent with mana value 3 or less. I'd be all about that. Taking Key. Raven's Run. Intruders. Splendid Mentor. Risk the Redeemed. So Risk can only copy creature tokens. But we do have a fair number of those, so he might still... I can see him not making the deck, though. Because he's only creature tokens. But... Is hybrid white/green for an elf. Is he a warrior? Okay. I thought he was, but it's been so long since I've had to care about that specific aspect of him. 1/1. Ruined Halo, no. Elite, no. Country, West. Sap Seep. I don't think I need Savor the Moment. It is kind of interesting with all of the sagas upticking. It's very reminiscent of Planeswalkers, where every time you take a turn, you're getting incremental value from each one of your things, so you don't necessarily need to untap in order to get more value out of them. You just need to take that next turn and get the next tick of each one of them. Thistledown, don't need Thought Reflection. Twilight Shepherd. Sun and Moon, Wiltleaf Liege, Brisk Raptor. Primus, I will probably still consider. Always consider Woodfall Primus. The World Purge. So a Shadowmoor. No Shadows. Innistrad is next. Don't need the Researcher. Ego. It's watching new. Deliverance. Can't run Archangel Elspeth. Bygone Bishop. Blind Deterrence. Confirm Suspicions. Cryptolith Right. Cult of the Waxing Moon, no. Deathcap Cultivator. Can't run him because he's got black in the or he gives black from his activation, so. Decked in Stone, I don't think so. Squatch Recruiter. Interlude. Of Apparatus, Fleeting Memories. Vocation of Saint Traft. No. Jason Unraveler Secrets. Don't think so. Potentially super annoying, but ultimately no. Nagging Thoughts. Keith Chaplin. Nephalia Moondrakes. Obsessive Skinner. Ongoing Investigation. Pages. Press for Answers. Rattle Chains. No. Turn any number of cards with different mana values from your graveyard to your hand. Put Seasons Past on the bottom of its owner's library. Me and my humans have hexproof. Exile a card from my graveyard. Make a 1/1. Slayer's Plate, new. Startled Awake. Pitch Mangler. Survive the Night. Cameo's Journal. New. Like a little tiny bit tempting because we could theoretically be searching our deck um like every other turn. You know, make 2 clues because we'd have a copy of it. Next turn make 2 clues. Now I have 4, sack 3 of them. Next turn I have 3 of them, sack 3 of them. So every 3 turns I get to search twice on turns 2 and 3 out of the 3-turn cycle if I want to. Yeah, I still don't think I actually need that. Like, yeah, it's really cool if we actually get that going, but we have so much else to do with our mana. Traverse the Uvold. No. Mysteries, new. Welcome. Westvale. Woodland Stream. Excuse me. Alright, so that was Shadows. Now for all the things like Shadows, but not it, and Shards of Alara. Yeah, I don't think we need any of the exalted things. Main Sanctum, Bant Charm, destroy target artifact, put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library, counter target instant. No. Not really hurting for any of those. Choose 5 permanents you control. For each of those permanents, I search for a copy with the same name. So, unless I really wanted to ramp in the most expensive and awkward way possible with basic lands, I do not need that at all. Go to the Cradle. Excuse me. Don't think I need Knight Errant for anything. The Imperial Archangel. Can't run Astrolabe. Yeah, I don't think I need any of these random artifact creatures that really care about artifacts. I don't need Gather Specimens. Ring Light. New. Jungle Weaver, new. Cataract Leviathan. Sorry. Knight of the White Orchid, Knight Captain of Eos, Master of Ethereum now. I'm gonna go with no to Mindlock Orb because I want to be able to search. So, Obelisk of Bat, no. Ring, Ooze Garden, no. Turn target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yeah, it's still way too expensive. Do not need Rafik. The resounding cards, even though I could technically run Silence. Yeah, I don't think so. War Monk, no. I had to double check him because he was so good in standard at the time. It's just like, no, you need to know what this card does because it was important way back then. See if you still need it. It's like, no. All right, we do want Seaside Citadel though. Don't need Scour Glass, Sharding Sphinx. Skill Borrower, no. Spearbreaker Behemoth. Steward, Stoic Angel. Would I actually want Tezzeret the Seeker if I'm planning on ramping with like a lot of artifact mana sources? It's potentially yes, because whereas I'm only gonna have like a couple lands that tap for more than one mana for Garruk, and a lot of them are going to be the ones that do will be like 2 mana most of the time. Tezzeret can be untapping artifacts that generate like 3+ mana. Actually, 3 is gonna be the norm for like high end mana production for that, so it's way more likely that he'll be able to generate more than 2 mana for me than Garruk will, I think. Also, tutoring for the artifacts has a lot of potential upside as well. Forest Formation, Vectus Silencers. Okay, that's everything. So after shards comes starter, which I don't believe will have anything for us. Breath of Life. Lancer new. I don't think I need Devoted Hero or Devoted Monk. I did not realize Devoted Hero was an elf soldier. Huh. Guessing he just has pointy ears at that point. Knight Errant. Thanks. Yeah, most of these are actually stuff from Portal or got reprinted in like 7th edition or something. Not as much need to double check them. Driving Touch. But if I say the names as I'm looking at them, it helps me register more cards, so maybe I don't skip over things as much as I have been lately. Basilisk, Tidings, Time Warp. Nope, okay. Starter. And Streets of New Capenna. I don't need a chat. All-Seeing Arbiter. You can't refuse. Always a little bit tempting, like 1 blue mana is just so easy to hold up. Alright, I just have it listed as New Capenna. Offer. You can't. Do for an instant. Overseer. Cruiser. Backup Agent. Plaza. Nope. Think I need Bootlegger Stash. Like right now we have what's its name? The God of Horizons Krufix on the list, which converts all of my unspent mana to colorless while it's in play. The stash lets me convert lands that I don't want to tap for mana at the time, like tap them for treasure instead, so I store a mana per land. Both of them have their upsides and downsides. Bootlegger Stash lets us generate more colored mana for doing stuff, um, whereas the Krufix lets us generate potentially a lot more mana. Like we can tap our artifacts for mana also and have that float in between steps and phases as colorless. So kind of a six of one, half dozen of the other, where neither one of them is that much better than the other one. So I think I'm a little more inclined to Krufix at that point. Each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker. Eh. Gets +1/+0. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, destroy target enchantment, or draw 2 cards. So, strong arm, kind of express, regulator, crowbar. Don't need Darling of the Masses. Depopulate. Field counter on it. No. The owner of target spell, non-land permanent, or card in a graveyard puts it on the top or bottom of their library. I think so. Choose up to 1 target creature, put a 1/1 counter on it, and a counter flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance. Top 7, permanent with mana value 3 or less onto the battlefield. And make a bunch of angels. Yeah, I don't think so. Alright, so I'm pretty sure Errant works with Ian. Like, if I don't have enough mana to replicate it again, I could copy one of the replicate copies since they're not cast. So technically Errant would work. I don't think I need that, though. Like, I have to be able to pay the replicate cost at least once and then not have enough mana to replicate it again where I would want to activate her instead. It seems like a lot of effort to go through for like one extra copy of things that I'm going to be copying a whole lot of anyway. And can probably do so again, like, way easier with other cards. Don't need Gallagrators. Halo Fountain. Inspiring Overseer, no. Dual Thief, no. Rella is exile any number of other target creatures controlled by different players until she leaves the battlefield. Enters the battlefield under your control in this way. Put 2/1/1 counters on it. Don't think we need Ledger Shredder in this deck. To make disappear. Metropolis Angel. Mysterious Limo. Don't need Park Heights Pegasus. Prize Fight, no. Yeah, I don't think we need rabble rousing. It's a little bit tempting because it's very easy with like the various doubling season effects to trigger the hideaway portion of it, like to cast the hideaway spell. Yeah, I just don't think we're gonna have room for it. We're gonna be copying like lots of other things. I don't even know if Riss is gonna make it, so rabble rousing also probably not. Then, alright, so there's Rafine's tower. Is two Fs in Rafine, right? Yeah. I don't need the reservoir Kraken. With a shield counter on it, whenever you attack a player or planeswalker with one or more creatures with power 1 or less, draw a card. No. Think I need Rumor Gatherer. Use a non-land permanent. Activated abilities of the chosen permanent can't be activated. Has all activated abilities of the chosen permanent except for loyalty abilities. You may spend mana or mana of any color to activate those abilities. No. Sleep with the Fishes. Soul of Emancipation. Destroy up to 3 other target non-land permanents and gives out 3/3 Constellation Angels. Oh wait, I put Rafine's tower at Spara's headquarters. I saw the white and the blue, and I'm like, okay, that's it. But Rafine is the Sphinx, right? Okay. All better. Sorry about that. Yeah, I see Spara's headquarters. I'm like, wait a minute. That is also green, white, blue. They can't both be green, white, blue. So what did I put on the list? And it's the white, blue, black one. I saw white, blue, and I'm like, that's it. That's the one I'm looking for. Titan of Industry. I don't think so. Don't need the operative. Wiretapping. Yeah, I'm just much better off in this version of the deck with the Honden of Seeing Winds because we can potentially copy that and get a lot more draws per turn. So that was Streets to its commander set. Thing in, so we get the one first. Alright, at the beginning of your end step, if you create a token, so yeah, Benny doesn't care if the token is a creature, despite the fact that he's a zoologist, so we'll grab Benny. I think Benny's around here, like before Historian's Moon. I think. Zoologist is 3 and a white for an elf. Druid 3/2. Don't need Tenuous Truce. Swindler's Scheme. No. Boxing Ring. Crow's Defense Contractor. A shield counter on target creature an opponent controls. Whenever you put one or more counters on a creature you don't control, tap that creature and goad it. It gains trample. Don't think so. Enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player. Exile up to one target non-land permanent for as long as that card remains exiled. Its owner may cast it. Whenever another player casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. Now, leaves the battlefield if it had counters on it. Investigate. I don't need the chauffeur. Damning Verdict. No. Grand Crescendo. See, this is a card that easily goes in Risk, but I don't think we really care despite the doubling season. Same problem that we have with Rabble Rousing is that is not actually the focus of the deck, so... Master of Ceremonies, Resourceful Defense, no. Skyboon Evangelist, no. Smuggler's Share. Draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards this turn. Create a treasure for each opponent who had 2 or more lands enter. It's a little bit tempting. Don't think we need it, though. Like, as a passive way to acquire more resources, it's okay. But it's kind of hard to guarantee either. Like, one of the opponents has to be ramping really hard or just passively drawing extra cards on their turn pretty consistently. Otherwise, they can just wait until this like if they have instant speed card draw, they can just wait until this triggers at the beginning of the end step, let it resolve, and then draw cards during my end step. So that way, or during any end step, so that way they get the cards that they want and they don't let me draw anything. So it has to be sorcery speed or passive, like it just happens on their turn or when certain events happen. Which is not to say it's a bad card, because it's not like the ramp decks can go, well, I guess I'll just stop ramping then. So I would still get my treasures, but I have to actually have a ramp deck at the table. If anybody else is ramping with artifact mana or creatures or anything else other than putting extra lands into play, this doesn't help. Hmm. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to wind up cutting it because of that, so... put a counter of that kind on target permanent you control if it doesn't have a counter of that kind on it. Nope. No, the Face Taker. I think Extravagant Replication we might want, though. Yeah, this is the better than the populate every turn card that I was thinking about, where it's like 2 mana more, I just get to copy any of my permanents. Exile target instant or sorcery, no. No to split second, or not split second, In Too Deep, which has split second. Mask of the Schemer, no. Shield Broker, no. Concierge, no. I don't need Skyway Robbery. Robber. Storm of Forms, no. Don't need Bribe Taker. 4 greater dies, create 2 1/1s. No. Crash the Party. Floppy. Every attack put a shield counter on another target attacking creature. Put a shield counter from if you do draw a card. Then put a number of 1/1 counters equal to that creature's power and first responder. No. Create a number of food tokens equal to the number of opponents you have. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 2, sacrifice a token, and make a 4/4 Rhino. Yeah, I think I have too much other stuff to do with my mana. I don't actually need to turn any of my random tokens into 4/4s permanently for 2 mana. Especially when I can't do it multiple times. I don't need the scepter. Draw a card for each player who has dealt combat damage this turn. 2. One or more creatures with base power and toughness 1/1 enter the battlefield. Put a 1/1 counter on her. Broker's Confluence. Proliferate. Target creature phases out. Counter target activated or triggered ability. For 5 mana, no. Denry with your choice of a 1/1 first strike or vigilance. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, if it has counters on it, put the same number of each kind of counter on that creature. Nope. Don't need the converter, false floor, gavel, buggy. Players who attack during their last turn as though it didn't have defender, +3/+3, and indestructible. Enters the battlefield, put a shield counter on target creature. Whenever parry attacks, target creature you control gains trample and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of different kinds of counters among permanents you control. Nope. Alright, so we're just past the hour mark, and once again I'm losing my voice, so I think we'll call it there for right now. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day.